Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We're going to continue talking about the internal revolution. I've got lots of reasons today. They just keep pouring out of all kinds of directions. The internet, other radio programs, other TV programs. And guess what they're all saying? The word primarily is civil war. So let me refresh your memory. You've heard it many times. You've been listening to this program for a while. But the fall of America would start with an internal revolution. Started by the communists. Keep hearing that one. Started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack and defeat America in one day. Now, listen to some of these headlines. Headline, is America headed for a new kind of civil war? Headline, are right-wing pundits right that America is on the brink of a civil war? Headline, Representative Steve King says the United States is moving toward a civil war. Now, here's the other headline. This is a poll. Now, I think it's interesting. This one poll has brought about 4 different articles, of which I'm going to read a pretty good chunk of those articles because it proves my point. I've been saying that America is in the internal revolution. Now, how long do we have until Russia attacks and America falls? You know, sometimes I think maybe 10 years. Sometimes I think maybe 2 years. Sometimes I think, boy, I hope we can make it to the year 2020. And right now, it's one of those, I hope we can make it to the year 2020. Here's the headline. Poll, 59% fear violence from Trump haters. 31% predict civil war. Now, this comes from Veuer, that's V-E-U-E-R, whatever that is, but it's June 28th, and we do, by the way, thank them for allowing us to quote from their fine article here. They say, are we in for a second civil war? A new poll finds many voters seem to think it's possible. As the political tug-of-war between Democrats and Republicans grows even nastier, and images continue to pour in of a crisis at the border. 31% of the respondents tell Rasmussen Reports that they think it's likely that the United States will experience a second civil war sometime in the next 5 years. I didn't say that. They said that. Second civil war sometime in the next 5 years. 37% of Democrats are fearful that a second civil war is at hand. Republicans less so, at 32%. But whether the political fist-shaking culminates to war or not, 59% of the respondents are concerned that those opposed to President Trump's policies will resort to violence. And by the way, almost everything is pointing toward it's Trump's problem. Okay. He's the one that's caused this, which of course I don't agree with. Anyway, that's compared to 53% during the spring of President Obama's second year in office. In other words, it's gone from 53 in Obama's administration. Now it's increased up to 59% of the people think that we are close to a civil war. We've already seen plenty of violent outbursts between the two sides, from President Trump's rallies as a candidate to the violence in Charlottesville. And just days before the polls release, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was kicked out of a restaurant because she worked for Trump. Now let's go to the next article, and it's talking about the same poll. Headline, 31% think the U.S. Civil War likely soon. This one from RasmussenReports.com, also June 27. Most voters fear that political violence is coming from opponents of the president's policies, just as they did in the second year of Barack Obama's presidency, and nearly 1 in 3 think a civil war is next. 31% of the likely U.S. voters say it's likely that the United States will experience a second civil war sometime in the next 5 years, with 11% who say it's very likely. 11% say it's very likely, brothers and sisters. A new Rasmussen Reports national telephone and online survey finds that 59% consider a second civil war unlikely, but that includes only 29% who say it is not at all likely. Democrats are 37%, by the way, are far more fearful than Republicans. Really? Let me read that again. It doesn't seem right to me, seeming like the Republicans are more saying more about a civil war than the Democrats. But let's read what he says here. Democrats, 37%, are far more fearful than Republicans at 32%. And voters not affiliated with either party at 26% that a second civil war is at hand. But 59% of all voters are concerned that those opposed to President Trump's policies will resort to violence. Okay, here's the way we would say that. Most people think that the Democrats are going to start a civil war. That's the way you'd really say that. Let's go on. With 37% who are very concerned, this compares to 53% and 28% respectively in the spring of Obama's second year in office, meaning that it has drastically increased the number of people saying we're heading to civil war. 37% don't share that concern, including 16% who are not at all concerned. 53% are concerned that those critical of the media's coverage of Trump will resort to violence, with 24% who are very concerned. 42% are not concerned about violence from media opponents, including 17% who are not at all concerned. Now, here's the way we say that in plain English. I think they're saying that the Democrats are so mad that they are about to turn to violence. I think that that is illustrated in yesterday's broadcast. If you didn't hear that, go back and listen to it. I think that's one of the best broadcasts we put out in a long time. I have a lot of evidence in that one. Let's go on, though. The survey of 1,000 likely voters was conducted on June 21, 24, 2018 by Rasmussen Reports. Poll, 59% fear violence from Trump haters, 31% predict civil war. Now, this comes to us from Washington Examiner magazine. Again, they're still talking about the same poll. Interpretive Park Ranger Caitlin Kostick speaks to Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump as she gives him a tour at Gettysburg National Military Park Saturday, October 22, 2016 in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. As she gives him a tour of Gettysburg National Military Park Saturday, the division of the United States that has escalated into the organized harassment of presidential aides has 6 in 10 worried about the violence from anti-Trump advocates and nearly a third fearing it will end in civil war. The latest survey of Rasmussen Reports found that 59% of all voters, quote, are concerned that those opposed to President Trump's policies will resort to violence. So all of them say that the people that are actually going to get violent are the Democrats, the people that oppose Trump. And, added Rasmussen, 31% believe it's likely that the United States will experience a second civil war sometime in the next 5 years. Headline, Iowa Representative Steve King says America is heading toward another civil war. The beginning of America's bloody civil war is generally remembered as the opening shot on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor on April the 12th, 1861. And Representative Stephen King, Republican from Iowa, fears that another Fort Sumter is in our near future. America is heading in the direction of another Harper's Ferry. The conversational conservative tweeted Sunday, quote, after that comes Fort Sumter. King's tweet linked to an article from the conservative online news about a group of protesters who were staging a, quote, Occupy-type style campout in front of an Immigration and Customs Enforcement holding facility in Portland, Oregon. Portland or occupiers shut down ICE office, replaced the American flag with Refugees Welcome flag. The protesters are spreading to major cities across the country. Harper's Ferry, Virginia, was the site of an 1859 raid on a federal armory led by militant abolitionist John Brown. Brown's attack was aimed at sparking a massive slave uprising, and a violent act helped push the divided country towards civil war. Political emotions have been running high in recent weeks after a massive public outcry against the administration's, quote, zero-tolerance immigration policy, when it resulted in the systematic separation of migrant families. King's concern that the United States could be heading for another violent internal conflict has been echoed by many voices in recent days after two administration officials were driven from restaurants because of opposition to their political views. A call from Representative Maxine Waters for activists to ramp up such harassment has further fueled concern that civility in American politics has eroded. King himself has a history of remarks that have been criticized as inflammatory, divisive, and racist. For example, okay, we don't need to cover that. The point is, we've got lots of reasons why it looks like we are heading to civil war or an internal revolution. But, got some more headlines. Here's another headline. House approves resolution demanding DOJ documents by July the 6th. I mean, the Department of Justice is basically said we're just not going to give you the documents that prove that we did do some bad things, that we did not prosecute Hillary when we should have. We were basically trying to. Here, let me just play you a clip from Joe DeGeneva.
Nutshell, it's never changed. Let's just be very clear about this. This is not a complicated case. The FBI at the senior levels in the Obama administration and the Department of Justice, Loretta Lynch and all her minions, had two goals in mind. Very simple, very plain. Exonerate Hillary Clinton illegally, and then if she lost the election, to frame Donald Trump. That's it. It's in a nutshell. It's never changed over the last 2 years, and everything that we have learned from the text messages, the IG reports, etc., has proven conclusively that that is precisely what James Comey and Loretta Lynch and the Obama administration people wanted to do. And it was the most brazen plot in the history of U.S. law enforcement, and it won't make much difference unless we get all the facts out on the table.
So as you can tell, there's a lot of people that are angry for a lot of different reasons. Here's another headline. Heads will roll. Congress gears up to split the FBI wide open after they made this critical error. Then, of course, you got the new thing that just happened here in the last couple of days, and that is Anthony Kennedy, U.S. Supreme Court's pivotal vote, has retired. And that is going to stir up. Matter of fact, here's a couple of headlines. Anthony Kennedy, U.S. Supreme Court's pivotal vote to retire. The fight over Trump's next Supreme Court pick. Next headline. Kennedy was the swing vote. He is the one who single-handedly saved Roe v. Wade, according to this article. He is also, the article goes on to say, the reason many of our LGBTs have rights. He approved gay marriage. With him gone, probably by the end of the year, we will have a new Supreme Court judge. Another thing that could be bringing on civil war. Again, civil war is on the lips of many Americans. Listen to what a couple of people have said about us getting a new Supreme Court judge. This is what Chris Matthews said about the Supreme Court judge situation.
It's not acceptable to accept this as a fait accompli. In other words, for the next 3 decades or more, we're going to be run by a 5-4 right-wing court. And just accept that. If you lay down like the experts are saying, and lay down and accept this as history that can't be stopped, you're going to see a political party in serious implosion.
We'll be right back after this message. The recordings discussed on the Prophecy Club are typically offered for a gift of $30 per disc or title, a double disc for $45 or a triple disc for $65. If there a way that you could watch any one of our DVDs for 50 cents to $1, you probably want to know about it, right? Well, go visit watchprophecyclub.com, where you can watch over 160 Prophecy Club titles for an introductory monthly recurring subscription of just $20 a month, or a yearly subscription for $200. The early $200 subscription is the best deal because it locks in your rate against increases in monthly subscriptions. That's watchprophecyclub.com. You'll love the format. It's easy to watch, and the quality is great. Watch watchprophecyclub.com. Watchprophecyclub.com. Go check it out today. The Extreme Summer Blowout is now in effect. You can get 50 DVDs for $250. That's $5 each. 25 for $160. That's $6.40 each. 15 for $120. That's $8 each. 10 for $100. Obviously $10 each. 6 for $70. 4 for $50, and 2 for $30. You can go to prophecyclub.com. There's a list of all the DVDs there, or you can call us and ask for the summer catalog, or download the catalog at prophecyclub.com. Flip through it, then decide which DVDs you want. That's 785-266-1112, and it expires soon. Call 785-266-1112 today. Some restrictions apply. And now, back to the program.
Court and just accept that. If you lay down like the experts are saying and lay down and accept this as history that can't be stopped, you're going to see a political party in serious implosion.
So he says that we're heading to a civil war between Democrats and Republicans, and it certainly appears so. This is what Steve Schmidt, who ran McCain's campaign for the White House, said about it.
Donald Trump lost popular vote by 3 million. He won by 78,000 votes across 3 states. The Republicans control all 3 branches of government, and by Republican nominees, 5-4 on the Supreme Court. So we have a minority that is ruling the majority of the country who are opposed to this president. And that is extremely unhealthy in a democracy. Democrats should dig in hard here and do everything they conceivably can do to block this nomination, any nomination, from going forward until after we see what happens in the midterm election. This is also, and I think it's important to point out, a president who is increasingly lawless, who asserts himself to be above the law, who attacks constantly fundamental institutions and pillars in the middle of a criminal investigation that has moved closer and closer and closer to the Oval Office.
So as you can tell, there is plenty of angry people out there. Now here's another one. This is a lady by the name of Sum Lim. She's on MSNBC, and she's explaining that there's nothing that can be done for stopping the Republicans from getting whatever Supreme Court judge they want to get.
Senate Republicans last year finishing the job by getting rid of that filibuster for Supreme Court nominations. So that is why Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans can easily pass whomever they want, whomever Trump picks, as long as their ranks stick together. So in terms of strategy, there's not a lot for Chuck Schumer and his ranks to do here. I mean, with anything in the Senate, you can slow down the process by some days, but at the end of the day, it's inevitable, as long as all Republicans stay together, that whomever Trump nominates in the coming weeks will get confirmed.
I heard a comment on Fox News the other night, and it said, well, whether you like Trump or whether you don't like Trump, whether you like his policies or whether you don't like his policies, one thing you have to give him credit for is he has followed through on his promises. Well, listen to what Jeremy Peters on MSNBC says about Trump and his promises.
And everybody says every time there's a 50-50 split issue in the Senate, maybe you can peel away Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins. It's going to be extraordinarily difficult. You know what else is going to be extraordinarily difficult is the Democrats in red states who are going to be under pressure to support the president's nominee. Could you imagine somebody like a Heidi Heitkamp or a Joe Manchin who is waffling? Trump will land his plane in West Virginia, in North Dakota, and harass them, saying, they are blocking my nominee, they are nullifying your vote, this is what you voted for. And a lot of them realize this is exactly what they voted for. You're right. President Trump took the unprecedented step of giving them a list of names of people he would appoint to the court so they knew they could trust him. This is a solemn pledge between him and his base, and he will not break it.
So we've got the fight that's brewing over the Supreme Court justice. Now, here's another one. Let me refresh your memory before I read this particular article. Terry Bennett was told that what the United States is going to go through is civil conflict, civil war, then invasion. I saw in the governmental area that we will go through dramatic change in our government, and there will be a time of anarchy and chaos. For a while, we'll have a fractional government. Okay, is that fractional government? Could that be caused by the Supreme Court? some kind of a Roe v. Wade change or something like that. For a while, we'll have a fractional government, which means basically our government will come down to the state level because of the military stepping in and having to seize control of our federal government. You'd call it a coup, but in all honesty, it'll help our nation. That's why the military will step in. Lawlessness and chaos was shown to me in civil unrest. Then Gabriel told him that when the checks from our government stop coming to the people, the chaos will ensue. Now remember that. We're going to talk about that in just a second. He says what we're going to see is a major change in our government. Then there will arise a new government in Europe. Now, have you heard about Merkel of Germany and how she is in jeopardy of losing her government? Have you also heard that many European banks are about to fail? Have you also heard that there is sort of a Brexit movement happening in Europe? In other words, Europe is about to emerge, turning away from the European Union. The European Union may be about to fall apart, and they're about to turn back to sovereign nations like Trump has been talking about. Back to what Terry Bennett said. The economic chaos will lead to dramatic government change in Europe and in our nation. And it will begin in the economic area, and then will go forth into the governmental area. So what he sees is some kind of a major financial problem coming. Let's go on, though. Major governmental changes are going to happen in various parts of the world, particularly in Europe. So the question is, what could cause that? Is that some kind of a trade war? Is that the European Union going back to sovereign nations? Now, the newspaper article. Headline: Trump signs executive order requiring welfare recipients to work. Now, let me back up and reread one of the signs, part of the prophecy from Terry Bennett. When the checks from our government stop coming to the people, the chaos will ensue. When the checks from our government stop coming to the people, the chaos will ensue. Headline: Trump signs executive order requiring welfare recipients to work. Now, this was back in April 11th, but there's been more of them since then. Trump signed the Reducing Poverty in America by Promoting Opportunity and Economic Mobility executive order on Tuesday. It will affect millions of people who receive benefits from government assistance programs such as Medicaid, SNAP, better known as food stamps, and public housing. The federal government spent more than $700 billion on welfare programs to assist low-income households last year. The president says his latest executive order is designed to make more public assistance recipients self-sufficient. He says the government's role is to clear paths to self-sufficiency, reserving public assistance programs for those who are truly in need. The executive order states, quote, the federal government should do everything within its authority to empower individuals by providing opportunities for work, including by investing in federal programs that are effective in moving people into the workforce and out of poverty. It must examine federal policies and programs to ensure that they are consistent with principles that are central to the American spirit: work, free enterprise, safeguarding human and economic resources. Headline: Gravy train is over. Trump signs executive order requiring recipients of federal aid programs to work. And it goes on to say more of the same. Now, the point is, I've given you about 3 or 4 different reasons why the internal revolution, I'm going to say it's not coming. I think it's already started. Now, yes, bullets are not flying at each other. There's not been but one shedding of blood, and that was the guy in Charlottesville that ran over some people with his car. But I think it's very close. Now, we're having a real hot summer. We might make it through the summer, but what are the chances we're going to make it a whole nother year, especially over this Supreme Court and then welfare cutoffs? See, brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, Dimitri Duduman did hear from God. These things are coming, and what we all got to do is get prepared for them, stop sinning, repent, and turn to Jesus with our whole heart so Jesus can save us in the day of trouble. So I have given you 3 or 4 different reasons why I think internal revolution has started. One, the poll that says 59% of the Americans fear violence from Trump haters. 31% predict civil war. Then, of course, there's the big fight between the Democrats and Republicans over Department of Justice documents that they don't want to release, all of this thing about Russians and the Trump thing. And then there's the Supreme Court justice. So that's four things. I mean, we got the poll saying people are angry. We got the Supreme Court's justice. We've got welfare reductions. We've got the Department of Justice, FBI versus Republicans. There's fighting going on in our nation everywhere. I'm saying the internal revolution has started. So let me close with repeating what the prophecy was. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two other countries will attack and defeat America in one day, in 1 hour, so great riches will come to naught. Then God will raise up China and Japan and many other nations. They'll go against the Russians. They'll defeat the Russians. They'll back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty, but they make the Russians their leader. Then under the leadership of the Russians, all the world goes down to attack little Israel. That's Armageddon. Then Israel can't count on the help of the Jews in America, so she cries for Messiah. Messiah returns on the clouds and defeats the armies of the earth. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And yeah, it's still summertime. We still really need your financial gifts. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The Extreme Summer Blowout is now in effect. You can get 50 DVDs for $250. That's $5 each. 25 for $160. That's $6.40 each. 15 for $120. That's $8 each. 10 for $100. Obviously $10 each. 6 for $70. 4 for $50, and 2 for $30. You can go to prophecyclub.com. There's a list of all the DVDs there, or you can call us and ask for the summer catalog, or download the catalog at prophecyclub.com. Flip through it, then decide which DVDs you want. That's 785-266-1112, and it expires soon. Call 785-266-1112 today. Some restrictions apply. Over 150 conferences and 50 debates defending the King James Version gives Adam Johnson the right to tell us what is the best Bible version in his new triple DVD set called King James or 400 Counterfeits, available at prophecyclub.com. Gift of $45, prophecyclub.com. We just launched watchprophecyclub.com. You can now watch 160 Prophecy Club recordings and soon over 300 without interruption. Most people would agree 300 titles, normally $30 each. A gift of $100 a month would be reasonable. $50 a pretty good deal, but the introductory rate for a limited time is just $20, recurring monthly subscription. A 1-year subscription is a gift of $200. There's no contract. You can cancel anytime you want to, and you get the first 3 days free just to check it out. The best deal is a yearly subscription that'll lock in your rate for a year even when we raise the rates. WatchProphecyClub.com. Go check it out. WatchProphecyClub.com. Well, the truth is almost no people on earth agree on all points of the Bible. But if you listen to the Prophecy Club, the Spirit of Prophecy Church might be just right for you. Our two most controversial beliefs are speaking in tongues and post-trib. But you might have to attend a long time to see anybody speaking in tongues, and we don't really make post-trib a big deal. But our two only sticking points are Jesus is Lord and the King James Bible. So if you're not attending a church, or if you're maybe looking for a new or a different church home, especially if you like listening to the Prophecy Club, the Spirit of Prophecy Church might be a fit. Most of our congregation found us via Prophecy Club, and many actually drive long distances to attend. We suggest you visit at least 5 times before making your decision. And if you walk in Sunday morning about 10:15, you walk into coffee and donuts. You're free to leave anytime, no questions asked. So, if you listen to Prophecy Club, give us a try. Spirit of Prophecy Church, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. That's on the corner of Park and K, like the margarine, right behind the Whataburger. Spirit of Prophecy Church, 2540 K Avenue, Plano, Sunday, 10:15. Ask for Stan.